And then all of a sudden he's like, you fell in a hole? He's like, what kind of fucking stupid idiot falls in a hole, you stupid loser? I'm in the hole. What do you guys think this book is about? I guess the hole is about people looking into an abyss and seeing their nightmare they have to overcome in a world of metaphor. That's a really good guess. Growing cannabis, that's a good guess. Someone falls in a hole that was covered by grass. That's a really good guess. Kind of have a book club. The book club is I read the book, I retell the book to the audience, which is you guys, so then you don't have to read the book. And this is set in Japan. Let me just rate the book. So many people glaze this book, like actually dick ride the fuck out of this. And I mean, I read it within a day, so I don't know, like I guess I understand, but I will say for 3/4 of this book, bro, I fell asleep twice reading this, okay? I have to give this a 3 out of 5. If I went into this thinking this was going to be a really weird, strange book, kind of a like Annihilation, kind of like Hardboiled Wonderland and the End of the World, kind of like Rouge, okay? So this is my mindset going into this. If someone told me, hey, Haley, this is a slice of life book that slowly turns weird and gives you like such a weird, questionable feeling, I think I would have probably rated this like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. First 3/4 of this book, it's normal life in Japan, which you can consider like vibey. It's like a slice of life anime. There's this woman, they're in their early 30s, her and her husband, they're newly wed, and the husband gets a promotion in the country. So they're trying to find houses, and the father, so we're reading this through the perspective of the wife. Her husband's mom ends up calling and is like, hey, we have a house next door completely paid for, and I know you guys have been struggling trying to find a place to pay for. Why don't you guys just stay there for free? No rent. It's already paid for. You're going to obviously pay for electricity, the AC, water, whatever. But like, you don't have to pay any rent because again, it's all paid for. Fuck yeah, let's do that. Are you kidding me? So I actually want to raise that question. If you guys had a significant other and their parents offered you to live in a house directly next door to them, but you don't have to pay rent, do you take it? They're like, fuck yeah, we gotta save the money. And so you kind of learn about her job. You don't learn about his job. You learn about her job. Brutally depressed there. Like she's working overtime. And the only way to get out of that is somehow if your husband gets a higher, like a job, and then you can be a stay-at-home housewife and then get pregnant and then be a stay-at-home mom. Her and her friend are talking about that for a while. Like that's why I mentioned it, because they talk about it for quite a while. They leave and they go beside the parents' house, and now instead of in the city, they're living in the countryside of Japan. So it's like very like open space. There's not a lot of stuff. There's not like shopping malls. Like even her going to the nearest grocery store, which is just a 7-Eleven, is like a 30-minute walk. The mom just seems very like put together and neat, high strung kind of. Not rude, just like kind of like the perfect mom, the perfect housewife in Japan, as you could say, but also works. So she's this perfect mom, perfect housewife, but also she works and has a really good job and makes really good money. Yeah, I don't know. That's like literally all that happens, okay? And then she gets a call from the mom. The mom's at work, or her mother-in-law. But anyways, the mom forgot to exchange money, so she asked her to do it, and she's like, okay, I guess I have nothing else better to do. She's doing the same thing every day, and honestly, she's finding it really boring. It's not that she necessarily misses work, but she doesn't like being a housewife. She literally is sitting around all day. She's trying to save money so she doesn't have the AC on, so she's sweating her ass off, and she just waits until it's around dinner time, so then she can make dinner for her husband, and that's literally it. And there's nothing else to do because they're in the countryside, so they're like, she dead ass has nothing to do with her time. She's like, okay, I guess so. So she takes this slip from the house. Something to also note is that living beside them is the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, and the grandpa-in-law, I guess. So their grandpa is there as well. Well, yeah, the grandpa's there. And he is a strange character in itself. He doesn't talk to anyone besides the mother-in-law, but that's not even his daughter. The father-in-law's father is the grandpa, not on the mom's side, on the dad's side. And he's like never around. All the grandpa does is he smiles, and he has this really big smile. And he has these like canine teeth that I think they're metal or whatever, you know, when they they have like the metal stuff on the teeth. I think both his canines have metal on it. So she always mentions how they're shining, and he always has his big hat on, and he has his garden hose, and he's gardening. The mother-in-law said that he's never outside and that he's always inside watching TV. So she thinks, okay, maybe on the weekends, because that's when they moved in and she heard that. She's like, maybe on the weekends that he just does that, but like doing her trek, her hike to the 7-Eleven, and then all of a sudden when she's walking, she sees this creature. She doesn't know what it is. She thought at first it was a dog or raccoon, but it wasn't, because she said that it was big as a golden retriever. Its whole fur and skin was black, and it only had hair on its belly, and the rib cage was exposed, back was exposed. He had some thunder thighs, but then it really quickly went down into like sticks. She's like, wait, like, it doesn't look dangerous. Like, it's not even looking at me. So like, I kind of want to get a look at its face to see what it actually is. So she's trying to follow it, and she's following it into this field. And this field, if you can picture, is by a river, and the cicadas, bro. This ambiance is perfect right now. There's like wind chimes everywhere. There's a river nearby. And all of a sudden, oh, she falls into a hole. And she said that it's really weird because the bottom of the hole feels soft, kind of. And she's like, what the fuck is that? But she can't see. It's dark. It's black. And this isn't a big hole. She said this is really strange because it's a hole that almost it kind of seems like it was made for her. Like it was almost the exact same like width as her, and it went to here. So it's just her neck and her head that are above the ground, and she's just stuck in there, and she's trying to push herself up. Dirt around the hole is kind of like wet and crumbly, so she can't like get a grip on it, and she also can't pull one of her arms up. All of a sudden, this woman comes from behind her, and she's like, oh my god, you're the bride. And our narrator is like, me? She's like, yeah, you're the bride. And she's like, I mean, I'm already married, but like, I guess, sure. And she's like, oh no, like, I know your husband. Like, I've known him for such a long time. Like, I knew him when he was a baby. And this woman was like, she wasn't like old, but definitely older than our main character. And she's just kind of confused. I guess I'm just gonna be the bride to you. Like, that's a little weird. Anyways, she ends up helping her up, and she knows that this woman looks almost like a little ghostly as well. Like, she's super pale. She's like, whatever. Anyways, maybe it's just her makeup. And so she tries to help her up. And so she gets her one hand down, and something like pricks her. And she's like, what the fuck? And so she's trying to hide it for some reason, I guess. She doesn't want to feel embarrassed. Because also she's stressed out because apparently in Japanese culture, or at least in this book, it's good to not, okay, if you're going to introduce yourself to the new neighbors, you should do it to everyone. Because if you introduce yourself to one neighbor and not the others, it could spread word, and it could look bad on you that you didn't go to the other neighbors because maybe you don't like them, or maybe you're trying to like, sending a vibe. It's giving a vibe, and it's not a good vibe. And so she was stressed out because the mother-in-law was trying to tell her like, hey, like, do not introduce yourself to anyone until the time is right. You guys are settled in, and then I will take you around and you can introduce yourself to everyone. So she's kind of like, fuck, oh my god, I'm like introducing myself to this girl. So she's kind of stressed. But anyways, she notices there's this little red beetle, and it's super weird. It's like a really bright red tiny beetle, and it's got white raised bumps on the back of it. She flicks it away, and she's like, damn, that shit actually really hurt. Anyway, so she finishes talking to this girl. She ends up going to the 7-Eleven. There's a bunch of kids in there, and she's trying to take out money because, oh my god. Oh wait, I said take out money. Bro. She either was putting away money or taking out money, but either way, the transaction of whatever she was doing costed, I think in USD, it would have been $200. And she needed to go to the ATM though, and a bunch of kids were in the way, and they're all just sitting there standing, like staring at her, and they're literally like trying to like look at her, put in her pin, and they're like reading their manga and stuff, but they're staring at her and being like, miss, what are you doing, miss? And she's like, what the fuck are these kids doing? And then there's this person standing there, and he's like, kids, don't do that. You gotta let her be on her own. Let her be on her own. They're like, sensei, but look, she's rich. Look how much money she's taking out. She's rich, sensei. And she's like, sensei? And she's like, okay, I guess they're on like a field trip or something. She's like, whatever. Mind you, there are no schools, hospitals, malls, nothing. So the fact that they're there is kind of weird in itself. But she ends up doing all that. She ends up going back. She still sees the grandpa watering, and she's like, okay, whatever. Now, a bunch of normalcy happens. She ended up going to bed with her husband, and she wakes up at 3 a.m. and because she hears like screaming outside, and she hears a little girl screaming, and she's like, okay, I must be imagining that, or it must be the wind, because why would a child be outside died. And also, like, from her understanding, there aren't a lot of children around this area from what she's been told, but she's like, whatever, it is what it is. And so she tries to go back to sleep. Her husband is laying on his side and she turns towards him and his back is raised a little bit and it's hot. So he was like sweating a little bit, but there was little white bumps on his back. And in her head, she's like, oh shit, like, are those pimples? She's like, oh, maybe they are. Cause I mean, it is hot if he's at work and he's sweating. And I was like, okay. And I was like, wait, I was like, that's a really weird thing to just point out and talk about, considering that she pointed out a bug that bit her and it had white bumps on its back. More normalcy happens. She is just dead bored all the time. Neighbor girl ends up coming over and they exchange food, and the food that she gave her, I don't know, was some crazy herb or something that she later makes for dinner. And she thought it tasted really good, but her husband's like, what the fuck is this? He's like, bro, this must be gone bad. Like, this is fucking horrible. And she's like, I don't even taste it. I can't remember the timeline, but eventually she ends up going outside. But yeah, she's talking to the grandpa gardening, sees the animal again, and it's scurrying behind the house. And she's like, I have nothing better to do. I'm gonna see what that goddamn animal is. Following the animal, and then she notices that there's these random, like, black brick walls behind the parents' house and on the side, like, random, like, brick. And then all of a sudden she stops and she's like, oh fuck, I'm in someone else's backyard. And she sees the sensei, the man from the 7-Eleven that were talking to the kids, and she's like, freezes, and she's like, oh my god. And he's like, hello, like, it's nice to see you. We find out that this guy apparently is her brother-in-law. No one has ever mentioned to her, not even the mom. Like, she's pretty close with the mom at this point. It's been like a month or so, a couple months even. Never mentioned a brother. The mother and father-in-law never mentioned a brother. He also wasn't at their wedding. She's like, okay, this guy's fucking creepy. Like, I'm gonna stay back. And so he's talking about how he was kind of like the family's shut out or shut in, whatever. He didn't follow his parents' rules. He wanted to get out of high school early and live his own life. So his parents have a shack, which they do, like a shack shed, whatever. It's pretty big in the backyard. And so he moved out of the parents' house at 18 and moved into the shed. Hasn't really talked to them since. She's like, okay, I guess. And he's like, yeah, like, I wouldn't mention this to anyone though, because I mean, not only will they get mad at me, but they will get mad at you. She's just trying to wrap her head around this, and she's also noticing that there is a hole in front of him with a trap door, and his hands are white. Oh, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's my trap. And she's like, the fuck, what's in there? And he's like, oh, it's a really cool animal. And she's like, oh my god, is it the animal with the black fur? I've been trying to find it. And he's like really confused on like what the fuck this thing is. So she's explaining how she knows about the animal. She found the hole, and he gets really defensive, almost mad. And he's like, you fell in a hole? He's like, what kind of fucking stupid idiot falls in a hole, you stupid loser? Oh my god, you have to be so brain dead to fall in a hole? Are you kidding me? That is the animal's home. It dug that hole, it lives in that hole, it thrives in that hole, and you, a stupid fucking idiot human being, fell in the hole? She's like, holy shit, like, I offended you. I am so sorry, sir. So she's like, okay, I'm sorry. And he's like, okay, no, it's fine. I accept your apology, but like, what, you think you're Alice in Wonderland? And then it starts to get weird from here out. You're going through the hole and you're gonna be followed by a rabbit. And then he's going on this whole tangent about Alice in Wonderland. And he's like, you know what? It's kind of funny because I'm kind of like the rabbit and you're kind of like Alice. And she's like, what? And he's like, well, I can lead you to the hole. So I'm like the rabbit and you can get stuck in the hole, but you shouldn't fall in the hole like you did last time. Because what if I was crazy and I just cemented the hole over top of you and then you just die alive in there? She's like, the way the writing goes, you can tell he's talking fast. Like, he's like a little fucking like nutty, clearly. And so they start talking about the animal more and like the holes, Alice in Wonderland, whatever. You should show me where you fell in. And she's like, okay, I guess. And he's like, yeah, I'll just tell you, like, you know, it's nothing to worry about, whatever. So they go over to the same spot and she's noticing that there's so many kids. And she's like, it's summer, but I don't think school's out yet. And she's like, is school out? She's like, fuck, maybe it is. Like, I've lost my sense of time now that I'm a housewife. I literally don't do anything. She's like, fuck, actually, it could be. it could very well be summer season. Where are these kids coming from? She's like, I swear, everyone that lives in this tiny ass little town is all elderly or older and they don't have any kids. Like I said, there's the pathway, huge field, and then a riverbank. And there's so many kids, like 30 kids just playing in the field and playing on the riverbank. And as they're getting closer, she's noticing, she's like, holy shit. She's like, these kids are face first in the ground, like literally looking for bugs, capturing bugs. They're jumping in and out of holes constantly, like crawling in them and popping their head out. And she said there's a bunch of them swimming in the lake and stuff. And she's like, okay, where the hell did all these kids come from? He's talking about the kids, the sensei brother-in-law guy. He's like, yeah, you know, the kids are kind of mine. I'm like their sensei. And she's like, yeah, wait, so are you like a teacher? And he's like, no, bro, I don't have a job. I want the kids to keep their imagination forever. Because once you get to a certain age, you just stop believing in things. And you know what? I like to keep that alive for them and just show them that they don't have to be a corporate worker. You can be like me and you can just live adventurously and freely and whatever. She's like, okay, that's weird. She's thinking like, okay, maybe he's weird because he only talks to kids. That sentence in itself is also very weird. They get closer and they're running up to him. They're like, sensei, oh my god, look at this. Look at what I'm capturing. And they're like fascinated by all of these insects that weirdly have white bumps on the back of them. He's like, oh my god, that's very cool. And she's like, ew, like that's disgusting. And they're like, you know nothing about bugs. And then they run away. Then he's like, okay, where's the hole? And she's like, this is the hole right here. And he's like, oh, look at that. Look down there. And she's looking in the hole and she sees like it's black. It's a black hole, or the creature's black. She doesn't really know, but she sees eyes looking up at her and she sees little fangs. She's like, oh my god, is that what I was stepping on the other day? Because remember when I said when she fell in the hole, she's like, it's like almost soft or squishy. Like she was confused what it was. He's like, aren't the kids getting hurt and stuff? And he just started laughing and he kept laughing and he kept laughing and kept laughing, and his laughing got louder and louder, and the cicadas in the background that were surrounding her were getting louder, and all the kids, they're like splashing, the water's getting louder, they're all like face first in the ground, like fucking looking around for bugs, and all the kids in the holes are laughing and jumping in and out of all the holes, and be like, ha 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 ha. And she's like, what the fucking shit? I'm gonna go home now, I gotta make dinner. And so he just stands there and he's laughing, staring out into the field, and they're all just doing the same shit. And she walks home and she's like, what the hell was that? So about like 5-10 minutes of the walk home, she's noticing there's less and less kids, but more groups of kids. So she said there's like a group of like 3 kids on the ground, again, face first, and they're just like tilting their heads staring at the grass. And then there was another group of kids. There was 5 of them, and it was a group. I'm not kidding with you when I say this. You can read the book and know that I'm not lying. There was a group of, I think it was 5 girls standing in a circle and 1 boy standing in the middle shitting on the ground, and they were chanting and watching him. And she's like, I gotta be tripping out right now. She's like, I just want to go home and make my dinner. She's trying to tell her husband all this, by the way, and he's like, yeah, I think you're just like really bored and probably hallucinating everything. By the way, the husband also gives you a weird, eerie vibe as well, because even at the beginning of the book, this guy's on his phone a lot, like a lot, like to the point where it makes you almost feel anxious for her, because you can feel her anxiety. Every time she's with the husband, no matter what, he's literally on his phone. But anyways, she goes to sleep. She wakes up, I kid you not, at 4 a.m. She wakes up and she hears like a howl or something. I think it was actually a howl, like from a wolf or something. She looks outside, doesn't see anything, but it's 4 a.m. and she sees the grandpa literally just watering the plants. And he's just smiling. She's like, Grandpa, what is happening? And this whole next day is very normal. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. I think this whole next day is very normal. But the grandpa is out there all day. And she tries to go and talk to him, but he literally doesn't do anything. He was literally out there from 4 a.m. till dawn. Dusk? Whatever it's called. Until the sun went down. And she was like, holy shit. Like, are these plants drowning? Next night happens. She goes to sleep. She wakes up and she can hear like weird noises outside, and she can hear like walking. So she looks outside and oh, what is it? Grandpa again. This time it's like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. Really, really early in the night. Grandpa, and he's not watering. He's like whispering and walking around. She just sees him charge off. Like literally, this is what I pictured. And then all of a sudden he's like, he's walking with a purpose. If anyone's watched Hunter x Hunter, the very beginning, the first trial they go on, and it's that really tall, skinny guy with the mustache, and they have to run for like 3 days straight. That's who I pictured. So she goes outside, and then she sees the brother-in-law come out. What's going on? Like, why are you making all this noise? And she's like, I'm so sorry to wake you up, but like, Grandpa was out here, and he was doing some weird shit, and then he just started marching off, and he was like, oh my god, he's gonna do it. And she's like, do what? And he's like, come on, we gotta go follow him. And so they go, and they're trying to like run after Grandpa, and they're literally going behind him, and he's literally just going like, you've never seen Grandpa walk so fast in his life, okay? He's fast as fuck, boy, literally. He goes, and he cuts like a sharp right turn into the field, and he goes, and all of a sudden, he drops down, and you can just see his head. And she's like, what the fuck is he doing? And he's like, shh. She falls into a hole. I think it's the same hole as no, it's a different hole. There's bigger holes, though. His hole was pretty big, and her hole was pretty big as well. And they're right by the river now. All of a sudden, she's in there, and just, I can't explain, like, the feeling I got while reading it, but just calm eeriness, I think is the best way to describe it. First of all, she fell in, she looked down, because the hole is bigger this time. She can easily get out. But she looks down, and she sees eyes staring back up at her, and little canines, and she's like, but it's not scaring her, apparently. And so she's sitting there, and she can feel it furry and squishy under her toes or feet. I don't know. She barefoot, I guess? I don't know. The sky is like dark, and the water is almost black looking, but it's still reflecting the stars. And there's all of a sudden no sound. It's just kind of serene. There's little trickles of like the water. At this point, something weird's going on, and the water is like swishing back and forth really aggressively towards them, but stopping and moving away and going towards them and going away. It's not going onto them, and also you're not hearing that slapping. It's just kind of like the of a river, and no cicadas. You couldn't hear any cicadas anymore. And the grandpa's just sitting there staring like where the horizon is. I don't know how long they're there for, but that also feels like a while. She's like, what the fuck? Anyway, she's like, okay, we gotta get Grandpa back. This is fucking weird. And so they pull Grandpa up, and they literally like carry him back to the house, and they knock on the door, and the mother-in-law and father-in-law are like, oh my god, like, what the fuck's happened? She's like, Grandpa fell in a hole and went to the river. And so she's like, oh, okay, you can go. Thank you. Shuts the door, and she can't hear what they're saying, but the mother-in-law and father-in-law are like yelling at each other. They're clearly like really mad. And then we kind of get like sped forward in time. He eventually catches a fever, goes to the hospital, gets pneumonia, and dies within like a month of this happening. But anyways, they're having this funeral. It's like an in-house funeral. It's in the mother-in-law's house, and he's in the casket, and there's a lot of people there. And there's a couple times where she'll go, and then she'll come back out, bring it to the people, and then she realizes that there's a lot more people there. She's like, oh my god. She's like, how many people did Grandpa know? This is like really, really insane. And it's just a shit ton of like older people, and he's like, or she's like, man, like maybe he had a lot of friends. So she goes to talk to the husband, who is on his fucking phone again. His grandpa died, and he's just sitting there laughing at his phone. And she's like, who are all these people? And he's like, huh? He looks up from his phone. He's like, oh. He's like, I literally only know 2 people here, and there's like 50 people in this house. And he's like, I don't know, but I haven't been around family in a while, so Grandpa could just have friends. I don't know. And she's like, huh. So she goes over, and she's trying to pay her respects and stuff. There's the group of old women that are like bitching about the flowers, because apparently the mother-in-law put a bunch of flowers in a bouquet, but in Japanese culture, for the countryside specifically, from what I understand that they said, it's supposed to be 1 flower in each vase, and then once he's actually dead, you put more flowers in, something like that. The mother-in-law is like kind of in a trance. She's just sitting there, and she cannot believe that he's dead. She's like, what the fuck? Like, he was in perfect health. Like, what actually just happened? She's very confused. So our narrator narrator is like, okay, I feel really weird that like the brother-in-law was clearly close to this guy. Oh, there was a whole section, by the way, when they first met, her and the brother-in-law, like in the backyard with the shed, and he had like the white on his hands and whatever, where he was like, yeah, I don't really look like the family, so I know you could think I'm lying, but like they say I look like my grandpa. And then he smiled, and he had the same smile that his grandpa had, same sort of broad forehead and same canine like shiny teeth. She was like, damn, like, yeah, I guess I could see him actually like being related to the grandpa at the very least. So she's like, whatever. She never brought it up to the husband, by the way, or anyone. She's like, I don't even know if he knows that he's dead. Like, I should go get him so he can pay his respects and say goodbye to him. So she goes outside and leaves for a little bit after fixing the flowers. Goes, you know, between the walls and goes to the shed, and the light's off in there. She's like, okay, maybe he's sleeping. She knocks on the door, no answer. Okay. She opens the door and she gets blasted with the smell of like mildew and dust. She's like, I don't think he smelled this bad, but like, what? She's like, hello? Like, is there anyone here? Like, what's happening? She's like, your grandpa died. No answer. So she's trying to find a light, and she pulls on the light switch. It comes on and nobody's in there, and it's completely dusty. Cobwebs everywhere, and it's literally packed with a shit ton of like packing boxes, like, you know, shit that you would throw into a shed, just a bunch of stuff like that. And after she pulled on the light, she looked at her hand, and all of a sudden her whole hand was covered in white. Okay, goes back to the house and she sees that there's so many more people. There's like literally hundreds of, like, the house is packed, literally packed with people. And she's sitting there and she's like, who are these people? So she goes up to the mother-in-law and she's like, hey, like, who the fuck are these people here? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know who these people are, actually. Grandpa must have known him, like, must have known all of them. I don't know. I've never met any of these people before. There's a lot of people here. And she's like, yeah, there's a fuck ton of people here. What the fuck? What did this guy do? Like, was he part of the mafia? That happened. That takes you through, like, a weird trip as well. Grandpa obviously died. He gets, you know, cremated or whatever they did with him. And then you get fast forward in time again. And she finally, because throughout the book, she's also really desperately looking for a job. And she finally gets a job at this 7-Eleven. And she's asking the cashier. The cashier's asking her stuff. She's asking the cashier stuff. And she was like, hey, so the rules here with, like, kids, the ones that read the manga and stuff, like, am I supposed to kick them out, or am I supposed to, like, leave them here? Like, is that a disruptance? And the cashier's like, kids? Like, well, you don't need to worry about that because there's no kids around ever. And she's like, oh, no, like the ones from the other day. And she's like, no, there's only old people around here. Like, maybe one kid, but you do not have to worry about them. Like, they're so far away. And there's no schools nearby or anything. It's literally an elderly neighborhood. She begins her trip walking back to the house. When I got home, I put on my uniform in front of the mirror. I couldn't help but see Tomiko staring back at me, which is her mother-in-law. And that's where it ends. You get a sense of, like, it could be real, but it also couldn't be real at the same time, because it's not crazy enough that she's seeing, like, literal, like, fairies and ghosts and stuff and, like, portals, but it's just real shit that's weird. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. I don't know. It is a good book. I will say it is the more I think about it, like, it actually really was a good book. I wonder if her mind is almost creating something interesting because she's so bored. You know how, like, in the dark, if you're already scared, you'll start seeing faces. If because she was so bored, her brain was, like, literally about to crash out. So it was like, let's make this fun. So my only thing is that, do you think she imagined the grandpa running then into the field? And do you think she was actually there by herself? No, she couldn't have, because she brought the grandpa back. The father-in-law and mother-in-law were literally there and took, like, she interacted with them. Thinking of it in terms of, like, themes of, like, gender roles and just, like, isolation and loneliness and being disregarded and stuff, I think the whole is a metaphor. The whole doesn't necessarily, it probably was a real thing, but I think it also could be a metaphor in terms of her being stuck. Especially her saying the whole almost seems like it was perfectly made for her. I think it might be a metaphor saying that, like, she's now stuck. She's stuck in this life, in this hole of being a housewife and not knowing her husband at all and not getting to be able to spend time with him or anything like that. Kind of like digging your own grave. And now she's stuck there. That's my theory.